working on our fireworks 4th of July necklace, and we're going to start by creating the fun background. And to do that, we're going to use a tool instead of our stipple brush. And I'm going to start out, we've warmed it up, and I'm going to start with white first and apply white here and there on it, because white is easier to get into other colors. So let's start it first so we don't have to worry about it picking up other colors. And don't forget to do the edges as well. And I'm using my number 2 tool, the smaller end. And I'm going to go back and make these just a little bit bigger and everything here. You don't want to go over your wax when it's cool. You want to wait till it's completely cold, otherwise you're just kind of picking it up. There is no right or wrong on this. It's however you want to do it, however big you want to make your little sections. Alright, so I'm going to clean that tool off, and I'm going to go to red. And you also can use the glitter crayons in this. Is kind of fun. That's okay, we'll just use that part there. If you're dripping too much, you filled your well up too full with your color. Some colors drip more than others. Remember, we only use Crayola crayons. We don't use any other kind. They're thicker and they're more colorful. If you've ever colored with any others, you'll know the difference. And if I haven't mentioned it, there's also a great video on my YouTube site that's the basics of the wax design that walks through a lot of great information as well. Okay, I think we're pretty good with that, so we're going to go to our blue. And another reason that I didn't use the stipple brush to put it on with is it goes on thicker this way than it does. And we kind of want to keep this thicker because we're going to kind of move it around a little bit. And the more you want to mix it up, the more you would use the smaller sections. If you don't want it quite as mixed, then use some larger sections of color. The blue is a blue with a little bit of white added to it. And it doesn't matter because it's all going to get moved around a little bit. We're going to blow it around a little bit, so it's not a big deal. Put a little bit over the edge there and a little bit there just to bring some of that in. Okay, so we're going to go over and start melting it. And we're going to start by melting it around the edges first. Because the middle will heat up the fastest. So let's start with the outside edges. And I've got my heat gun pretty high up, but I could actually bring it down a little bit lower. Or if you like to keep it up higher so it doesn't melt as easy, you can lift your piece up underneath your paper towel too. Just by bringing it up like that. And we're going to kind of move our colors around a bit. You can do it by blowing them with the wax, or you can also do it by heating your tool up and just moving them around a little bit. Now don't do it too much because you don't want to dirty it up, and it will. It'll start to get really kind of dirty looking if you mix the colors too much. Muddy looking is how we would refer to it. So we've got that nice background right there. Now we're going to leave our heat gun really high up because we want to bring our tool in and do our fireworks. When we're working on fireworks, you want to think about them not being a round circle. We're going to kind of bring them in, and we're going to curve them a little bit as well to kind of give them the illusion that they're falling from the sky. And this is my silver here that I'm going to be using. And so kind of think about an oval shape more or less when you're doing it. We want to heat this up till it's just warm enough. We don't want it too warm because then the color that we're putting in will expand more. So we want to kind of have it a little bit warm. And it's got to be movable. Now see, that's a little bit warmer than I would like it. And it shrunk down. And but you need it workable. So if you have to warm it up again, that's okay. And if you want to do this in another color, feel free to do it in another color. There's also a really good metallic purple that's almost a black, and it's called Deep Space. And this is too dry because you can see that I moved the wax. So we're going to warm it up just a little bit right that area. And there we go. Okay. And you can go back over those if you need to, if you lost some of that. And you also can come in here and kind of do some dots so that it looks like it's falling. And you don't have to do it completely around. I'm just going to kind of do it where I think the bottom of it would be. That way it looks like it's falling from the sky. Okay, and I'm going to heat it just a tad in the middle. We're going to put some glitter in it. We just want to barely warm that enough just to accept the glitter. And I'm going to use my Prisma glitter, and I want a bunch in the middle. And you can even put some on the outside, just a little bit, but you want that in the center especially to look like it is exploding from that. And let's just put a little bit more heat right on that so we make sure that stays. Alright, so we've got that all in there really nice. And again, if you want another color that stands out a little bit more, you know, like we talked about, use the darker color. And or also use a little bit more white in the background. I had a little bit more white in this background, and I think it showed up a lot nicer than so many multicolor in the background here. So we're going to let that cool off, and then once it's cooled off, we're going to apply our Mod Podge Dimensional Magic, and it's real important. It says Dimensional Magic. This is made to go over the jewelry that they're doing with the paper and glass and different things like that. It's made to look like a glass setting. So it's supposed to go on nice and thick. Now, unfortunately, most of our gourds are not completely flat, so we have to have put it on in layers, but we want to put it on in nice thick layers and do 3 to 5 coats minimum. And if it's going in the sun, I would always check it, always test your product, doesn't matter. and make sure that you have that nice on thick on top. So the first thing we're going to do before we do that is we're going to make sure that we've removed any of our wax on the sides, and we don't seem to have as much on this one. We must not have blown this guy around a lot, because you don't want to seal your sides, and you want to make sure that you get that nice and clean off there. And then we're going to come back in and we're going to go up on the edge just a tad all the way around, so when our sealer goes on top we get a nice good seal. Okay, and remove any of that. You don't want to have any of that over the top of it. And just move that glitter back to the middle a little bit. Some of that escaped a little bit more than I'd like, but that's okay. It's a firework. So we're going to take our Dimensional Magic. I'm going to put some around the edge first, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring that over just a tad on the edge to make sure that we get this seal all the way around nice and good, so that it holds that wax in if it would happen to get warm. You want to have that seal, and you're not coming down the whole side, just a little part of it. Now, remember how we said it's better to have too much than not enough, and our brush is just kind of used to spread it around. It's not really brushing it on, you're just kind of applying it everywhere. You don't want to see brush strokes, so we're just trying to kind of even everything that we have on here kind of all nice and even out. You don't want it dripping down the sides, and you don't want to overwork it. And when you pull your brush apart across, you'll notice that it just kind of gels back down, and that's exactly what you want that to do. And you want to just see that nice and smooth surface. If you see your brush strokes, go back and put more on. It is not thick enough, and you want to make sure that you have that nice and thick. Okay, so once you get your couple of coats on that, 3 to 5 coats of that, then let it dry 3 hours. You want to make sure that's nice and dry, and then we'll put our necklace part on.